Okay. Kunna shish hati adi yukhan. Achtu ya yagi ya da khwalqini. Kunna shish hati adi. Ya kanda hit. Thanks for coming, everybody. It's great to see your faces again today. We're coming up on time, so just wanted to make sure you feel welcome. Nila Toga Aya, my name is Nila Toga, that's my Danaka name. And with me here is Shaksani Keek, and we're excited to host you again for day 2. So the way class will go today, I know folks are still rolling in, but just to let you know that today will be a fun day. For the first few minutes, we are going to have Nej Kaguge run us through another demonstration of Tovuti, the website, which is the online learning platform we'll be using. This is where you can access your slides and we can communicate to each other through it. We know there are some questions around the website, and we'll do that for about 15 minutes. And then Shaksani Keek will share some history with us. So welcome in, get settled with your snacks and your tea. And when Nilkaguge is ready, she'll share with you some more about the site.
We're going to post the schedule. We made up a schedule for October. And it's pretty rough. So you can't hold us to everything we wrote, but we thought if we put together a schedule of what we want to accomplish for the month, and also it's be useful for you if you have to travel or you have to plan something else, to know ahead of time what we're thinking about doing and what we want to accomplish for the month. So that schedule is not on there yet, but it will be. So every month you will have a new one. So we did one for October.
Goodness cheese, and I'll post that today.
Are you ready for me to do a little demo real quick?
Yeah, we're ready. Take it away.
I'm a staff member of Shinken Haida. I realized I didn't share that last time. So I'm here to do another demo. And in the chat, Katgun or Rochelle Smallwood will be putting her email in. And if you have any issues accessing the site, this is where you want to email for help. And so I'm putting the link to Tovuti in the chat. So Tovuti is a Swahili word for website. It's not what we named it. It's just what the whole platform is sold to us. You know how Google is Google. Well, Tovuti is Tovuti. That's just what they named it when we bought it at Shinken Haida. So we can do classes online with you all. So the website should be in the chat right now. If you want to navigate with me. Many of you, all of you should have gotten an email with your username and password. We have added everyone to the course. When you hit login, your username is going to be your email address you signed up for this class. So whatever you use to sign up for this class, that's going to be it. And if you don't know your password or you haven't been given one, just go straight to forgot your password. And it's going to look like this. You type in your email address, click the little checkbox that says I'm not a robot and hit submit. A verification code is going to be sent to your email. Just copy and paste that in, and then you can log in. And that is how you can generate a new password for yourself or recover a password. So either way, every single person, if you filled out a form for signing up for this class, you have a Tovuti account. So if you need a password still, you want to just use the forgot your password function right here. to get a new password. So I'm going to log in. Many of you, when you log in, it might say, take you to this page and say you need to reset your password. This might happen up to 2 times. I'm going to chase for your understanding and patience with us. We were not sure how to send out new passwords to everyone. So instead, what we did is accidentally reset everybody's password multiple times. So this means you may have to actually reset your password once or twice on here. You didn't do anything wrong. That's just on us. So even if you reset your password once and then you log in and ask you to do it again, it is on us. And we just ask you to please go through the process one more time. From this point forward, this should not occur anymore. So I'm going to stress for your patience. So when you log in, oh yeah, there's that look.
Did I hear you say that you sent us all a temporary password in order to get started?
So what we sent out was not temporary password, but your directions with your username and your link, right, Kachkun? And so your user, if you don't already have a password or a temporary password for any reason, some folks got them and half the class didn't get it. You want to go to the login right here and click forgot your password. If you have no password, this will generate a new one for you. Any more questions actually about getting a password or finding your password before I move on to the site?
Yes, I'm not getting an email saying I have a new password. So I've tried it a couple times, but I'm not receiving an email.
So you've gone to this page and you hit forgot your password.
Yeah, and did all that.
I would recommend checking your spam folder or your promotions folder for your email address. And there is a 1 to 5 minute delay for Gmail accounts for some reason. If you put your email into the chat, Kachkun can look into it. I also sent it to, you can continue to send emails to Kachkun and Gail, and they'll look into everybody's individual account and see what's going on. And when we move into the second half of today's class, Kachkun and I will go into the back end of Djibouti and start looking into everybody's issue and seeing how we can resolve this. Gonna see. Any other questions? If you are having issues and you can't do the reset password or forgot your password, just put your email into the chat and we'll keep looking into it. So if you are able to successfully log into Djibouti, what you want to do is once you get into the login section, it's going to look like this. So go to your profile, show you the last time you logged in, and you want to go on the left-hand side to the little book icon and click courses. I'm a staff member, Shinkan Haida, so I'm going to see every single course we have. But for all of you on here, unless you're also a staff member, you should only see this page where it says Lingit Class. You want to click on that. And if you look, it has all of the classes that have been scheduled out so far for the schedule that Nishta Toga and Saksani Peak were just referring to. So if you click day 1, which was Tuesday's class, you'll see not only do we have what was covered, the phrases that were shared in the Zoom chat and how they were spelled. There's the slides that Nishta Toga went through, and also the class recording for you right there. And all of this will be updated after each class by the next class time. So if we look if you click next right here on the right hand side, you will see that we have today's slides here, what is going to be covered, the schedule, and then later today or tomorrow morning at the bottom of the screen, there'll be the class recording. And that's how it'll be set up every single week. If there's additional resources that were shared, such as linkitlanguage.com or maybe a YouTube video, it will also be either below the slides or on the right-hand side where it says lesson links. We'll be putting the links there. In this course, we'll stay open to you as long as you have a login at Shinken Haida. We have almost unlimited storage, so we're not going to take it down. If you need to contact your language teacher, Nisha Toga, and you would prefer to, you can actually find message her in this platform under my inbox. And that is what I have to share with you today about Subhuti. Are there questions before I hand it back over to our teachers? Ganesh for allowing me to have this time, and also for your patience and understanding as we continue to troubleshoot folks' individual accounts. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything else like we can do, just let us know, and we'll start looking into everybody's account during story time. Ganesh.
Ganesh. So before we move on to the next portion of our class, welcome in for those of you who are just rolling in. And do we have any new students that weren't able to make it on Tuesday but are here now? If so, you can hit your raise hand icon, or you can raise your hand just so we have an idea who our new people are. Sheesh, so far looks about 5, 10, maybe 12 new people. Okay, gonna teach Adi, Hadi Adi Yuhan. Did you have anything you wanted to share with our new students?
To welcome the new students. What we worked on already is the sites and the help that you can get in regards to learning the language. And I think that you can contact either one of us to get that information. But if you look at the recording, from the last session, you should be able to get that information. But to review what we did, and it's important to me, is for you to learn how to keep your notebook handy. You're supposed to have a notebook to keep the language and take all the notes that I tell you to put on there. The first thing we had is the single standing L. Lingits in the language we don't have a sound that's the same as English L. So if you say L and watch where the tip of your tongue goes, put your tongue on the tip of your tongue behind your top teeth and let the air come out. All you have is the sound of the air. So you say Lingit. That's what we call ourselves. Lingit.
Lingit.
So if you're muted, you need to unmute yourself so we can hear. I can hear you. I can't see.
Lingit.
Yes.
Lingit.
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 That's
Lingit.
good. And you have to keep in mind, we call this letter voiceless because there's no sound to it. It also appears in a word that we use all the time, gunachish. Okay, some people say gunachish and leave the L out, so it's easy to do. Don't do that because I think I heard a couple of times somebody saying that the L needs to be in there. It's also a word that everybody that chooses to live among us should know what that means. So don't be embarrassed about using it wherever you go. You say "Gunachish" and then quickly say, "Oh, I said thank you in my language," so they can become familiar with it. So you're sounding good. And how much time do we have?
It's 12:18.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk about the history that where we used to live. And so there's a lot of people asking, where do you come from? And the usual answer from the old people was, what do you mean? We've always been here. So there's no stories about crossing the bridge or getting here in a boat or whatever. But when you look at the map, and so for now, as I go through the history, just relax. Drink your tea, eat your breakfast, have a cookie or something. So, and if you have comments or questions, put it on chat, or if we have time, I'll answer. On the map, language map, and you can see the red area. That's quite large. And I don't want to insult anybody, but everybody in America believes that everybody in Alaska is Eskimo. And I've been introduced how many times as an Eskimo because I said I was from Alaska. And personally, I'm grateful for them to do such good advertisement for Alaska, you know. So I don't mind that, but I do make the correction. So the Indians had quite a large area of Alaska, and this is the history that I got from A.P. Johnson of Sitka. He was a professor at the Sheldon Jackson College. He's a Tlingit, and it was really fascinating to me because I've often wondered about this. So he said that everybody, all the Athabascan speaking people, which we are, live together in a large red area that you see on the map. And he said that everybody had a lot of space and food to eat, but soon began to get overpopulated and didn't have the space anymore, or the food was getting pretty hard to get. So the chiefs that were uh, heads of the group got together and made a decision that one of the clans should go leave the area. So they did. I don't know if they drew straws or they cast lots anyway, some way to go. And there was one group that got it, and they said, "That's good, we can go." And then there was another group that said, "We're going to go with them because we have too many relatives in this group." So they all decided to leave, and it was quite a large group. They headed east, and when you see the map, there's boundary lines that are drawn. They headed east towards Canada. And after they were gone for quite some time, the chiefs got together and they felt really bad. They said to each other, we should never have done it, that we could probably work it out and we'd have enough of everything for everybody. So they got some scouts and they said, we want you to follow them.
We're just frozen.
And bring them back. And so they followed the tracks, and it was quite a wide group area to follow. So it wasn't really that difficult. They when after the group passed the boundary line, which is now Canada boundary, they got into that area. They turned south, and the scouts were able to follow. And as they were following, going south, for some reason, all signs of where they went or where they were disappeared. They as scouts, they don't give up, so they looked east, and they looked different areas to see if maybe they broke up and just kind of went separate ways. But there was absolutely no sign. And they went as far south as they could, but could not find any sign of anybody. They were gone. So they came back to report to the chiefs, and the chiefs felt really bad about this. They said we should never have done it. It was kind of a bad thing to do. So they decided to for somebody to keep the history of what happened. They didn't give it to a clan. They didn't give it to a tribe. They gave it to a family to keep the history of what happened. And I understand from A.P. Johnson that this family decided to release information in 1969. And so everybody, they knew that it was, that's what happened to that group of people that left, is that they couldn't find them. But pretty soon it began to really get crowded again and not enough food. And this time it was the Tlinkits, the people, the Lingits, that decided to step forward and say, we'll go. And he didn't say it, but this is my theory, is that they probably had scouts looking around to see where it was best to go. And so when they left the area, they all headed straight for southeast, all of them. There was some of the groups went all the way to Seattle and then came back north to be with the rest of the group. They found all kinds of different methods to get to east. And each village you will find they have the migration story, and that's what that is how they got there. And what I'm going to share with you is the migration story for the Huna area. I haven't heard any migration stories from Yakutat or Angoon. I might have heard one from Angoon, but some of the other people too. So if you want to study that, if you're from any of those areas, to find out what the migration story is. But the ones that went to the Glacier Bay area is my father's people, Dakdaintan. They had scouts that led them, and they had they came across this large glacier, and the scouts, when they got to the glacier, they found out that the face of the glacier was so high, there was no way to get down. And also they had to deal with the breakaways. And so as the group was following, the scouts went back and told them that the face of the glacier was extremely high, and that they had to decide what to do. And one of the scouts said, there is a place on the side of the glacier that looks like a river. And what we could do as scouts is to tie ourselves to a log and see the water that goes through, if a human can get through. So they found a log to send through, and as the scouts were getting ready, there was an old couple that came forward and said, we would like to volunteer to be the first, because we're already old and you need the scouts, and if anything happens, it'll happen to us together. So it was agreed on for the couple to be tied out onto the log and see if they can go under the glacier. And when my dad was telling us the story, he sang the songs, which I can't do, of course, but I can tell you that when the old couple got pushed under the glacier, they began drumming and singing this extremely sad song. It was saying goodbye to the old people. And so the scouts were watching from the face of the glacier to see if they would come through. And pretty soon they passed the word on that the couple got through. And then the same song picked up the beat, and they started like a celebration. It was really, really kind of fun to hear. And I don't know if anybody knows that song, but my dad used to know it. So then all the people that were from that clan, that group in Glacier Bay, went on the logs and got through to the other side in order to settle to settle into Glacier Bay. And that's the migration story of how they came to be in the Southeast. And I kind of suspect that when the scouts came to locate a place that they found that Southeast had an abundance of food, all kinds of things. So that kept us healthy and happy. So the other people that came went all kinds of different routes, and their migration story tells how they got here. The group that went all the way to Seattle, and when you go through Canada, you find Lingit names. The river, the long, super long river in British Columbia is called North River. And that's a Lingit word for intestines because the way it was laid out, it just twisted and turned, and it was not a big river. It was just all over the place, so they called it Nos. And so there was different places that had names that are Lingit. They went all the way to Seattle, and this is what confused anthropologists that were studying us. There's an argument about where we came from, that some of them say, well, there's a lot of evidence that they came from the South, because here's evidence from Seattle that they were here, and went north. And then there's others that say, no, they came from the north because there's a lot of evidence. So the argument is for nothing because we know how we got here. And the wonderful part of it is, for me, is that they knew where to go. Even if they got all the way to Seattle, they still came north to different areas and settled. So it's really something to realize that that we knew exactly where we were going and where we wanted to be, and we've had an overabundance of food to the point where we became really particular about what we eat. So, and that's another subject because I studied the nutrients as much as I could about the Lingit Class, because it's how we kept ourselves so healthy. The other thing is when you there is a Native American language map. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, but it's in color. They stuck to the colors. And I was looking at it one time, and in Canada and northern New York, in that area, northern area, was a large, extremely large area of the Algonquin language. It's purple, a dark purple. And when I saw it, I was thinking, where did I see purple? And I kept thinking about, I did see purple somewhere. Yeah, I did. It was in Alaska. The Tsimshian speak the Algonquin language. And then further down south, than Navajo country, Navajo people are Athabascan speaking people. So you find two little red dots down there. And it's the Navajo and the Apache. So we haven't been able to find out much about them, but they said they know that they came from a land where the sun never sets. So that's very exciting. And I understand that their language is very, very close to Lingit. And that if you go to live among them, you can learn their language pretty fast. And that's a quote from some people that went there to work and live. And so it's it's only a very short history because the Duckdainton and Chukanady and Glacier Bay settled. They settled a village in Glacier Bay, which is, I think, might be called Bartlett Cove now. And they had a village there, but different people began to move around, and you find places to put up their smokehouses and their summer homes, and to put up the food for the winter. So the story, I don't know how familiar you are with the stories from Glacier Bay, is a story about a young girl that was in isolation. And you're wondering, what in the world is that? And when a young girl has her first period, they take her and put her in isolation, have no contact with anybody except the mother, the aunt, the sister, or other women for a year. And then when they're brought out, they arrange a marriage for her. So one of the girls was in the Glacier Bay village. She was in isolation, and she had she was in her little hut, because they usually put them in little huts, and she was looking out the window while she was eating. They gave her a piece of dried fish, which is a really common snack food, and she was eating the meat off of the skin, and then just for the fun of it, she stuck her hand out the window with the skin and began to call the glacier. Here, glacier, glacier, like calling a dog. And she kept that up, and all of a sudden the glacier began to move towards the village. And the scientists called it galloping glaciers. And it was a galloping glacier that began to overtake the village. And she got blamed for it. So I'm not sure how the word got around that it was her, but the people decided that everybody's going to leave except her. They were going to leave her there and let the glacier swallow her up. And then at the last minute, her grandmother stepped in and said, take her with you and I'll stay in her stead. And then it'll pay for what she did. And so they took her along and left the lady there. And as the canoes were getting ready to leave, they watched the glacier overtake the whole village, including the house where the old lady was. And the song, my dad also sang that song, and it was a sad goodbye to the woman, and they left her there. Apparently, the glacier overtook all of Southeast. Glacier grew all the way from Glacier Bay. All homes and things were all destroyed, and it grew all the way across the bay to the next land, and began to really gallop towards the south. And the Lingit people began to try to go south in order to get away. And there's stories about how far they had to go, but they know that they went to the country where there were big trees. And then when you say big trees, you know that what comes to mind is the redwood forest. So they went that far in order to get away from the glacier. So they were forced to leave. All of Southeast was covered with the glaciers. And so after the glacier began to recede, in order for them to come back, they were able to return to where they used to live. And in the case of Glacier Bay, they finally had to leave Glacier Bay permanently, and they began to live in a place called Huna. And Huna knows that Glacier Bay was their real home. So a lot of people say Angun Kwan, Sitka Kwan. We don't say Huna Kwan, we say Huna Kawu. That's where you introduce yourself. For those of you from Huna, that's what you're going to have to say. Because we don't consider ourselves from Huna. We got forced out of Glacier Bay. And the other force that came along, of course, was the government made it into a monument. So that really forced us out of there. Good. It was quite a battle to get it back. But how much time do we have left?
It's 1:45.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions on chat?
Let me check.
Anybody have a comment or a question? Maybe I'll put everybody to sleep.
They're awake. Oh, here. We have a question from Sani. Go ahead, Sani.
Goodness, sheesh, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. Another time we moved, and my father, he's Nushkitan. And I know when I was first starting to take classes, people would correct me and say, no, it's Wushkitan. But my dad always said Nushkitan with an N. So he told me about the story about the fort that was up there on the mountain. And so that's new. So there are people from that fort during the Great Flood. So I just thoroughly enjoy listening to all the stories. And I'm sorry, my camera won't let me unlock, so you can't see my face. But goodness cheese, I just really thoroughly enjoyed your story. Goodness cheese.
Okay. Okay.
Naftish, Sani. Another question in the chat is, what does kawu mean in Hunakawu?
Hunakawu is a man from a person or a man from Huna.
Geez. Another question in the chat is, if you're Duckdane Tan but don't live in Huna, do you still say Hunakawu?
Yeah. Yeah, if you were if you were born there, you're Hunya. The word is Hunya Kau.
Kunyakawu.
Yeah. Hun is a north wind, and Ya is a shield. So Hunya is shielded from the north wind, and it's actually shielded from all storms except the western storm. It's a nice place.
Another question in the chat is, I'm confused by Indigenous people of Alaska using the word Indian to describe ourselves. For example, Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes. Where does this come from? Should we use it?
It's used by Central Council and all the different Lingit Haida groups. And I guess if we have to put a blame on somebody, it'd have to be Columbus, because he thought he was in India when he saw us, and that kind of stuck. So in order to differentiate ourselves from the other tribes that are in Alaska, we do use it, and as far as I know.
Is there any more questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. You can use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can type it in the chat and I'll read it for you. So.
Just just a comment. Shirley, this is Edna
Yeah.
Cockett. Your story about glaciers is kind of prophetic. There was just an earthquake here in South Central Alaska, and it was centered at Glacier View, Alaska. So the glacier knew that you were talking about them. I think it's somewhere up around Anchorage, but I'm not sure exactly where, but it's called Glacier View. So just a comment.
Well, it's pretty sad that a lot of the glaciers are beginning to disappear. What I don't understand about the scientists is they do not talk at all about new glaciers that are appearing. Never hear anything. You just know it's happening, but they don't say anything about it. Just the glaciers that are disappearing. So.
Yeah, I felt the earthquake too, just a couple minutes ago. Did you feel it?
No.
Yeah.
4.9.
I felt it, but I was trying to keep a poker face.
Okay, then now it's time to get out your notebook and we're going to do some writing. And this is to prepare you for your next assignment. Okay, if you're ready, the first word, double A, 2 A's. D as in dog salmon. 2 O's, a tone mark on the first O. That's the first word.
I'm sorry, what kind of mark on the first A?
The tone mark is on the first O.
Oh, first. Oh, my mistake.
For those of you who are new to tone marks, a tone mark will be a little high tone upward slash above the first O.
Is there only the upward tone mark?
Yeah. Okay, next word. S as in seaweed. 1A with the tone mark. And for those of you that are wondering, because this is going to be a question, the question mark is right there, SA. Last word, W, E, single letter E with a tone mark on it. Got that? Okay. The tone marks are really, really important to me. In order to really sound Lingit, you will pay attention to the tone marks. And if you're not used to noticing it, I usually tell my students to use a different color marker or a different something so that you can notice it when you're reading it. If you're writing it, fine, it's easy to do. But if you're typing it, I don't know, you can change the color.
Mhm.
Okay, are you ready to read? Double A is double A is
Uh,
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 Ah,
uh,
Ah,
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 okay. And the double O is ooh.
ooh,
Ooh.
ooh,
Ooh.
ooh,
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 Ooh.
ah, ooh, ah, ooh,
Okay. Then there's the next one is harder. Single A is
ah,
Ah.
ah, ah.
it's very, very short and abrupt.
Okay.
And the last vowel is an E and eh.
Eh,
Eh.
eh,
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 Eh. Eh. I'll do so way.
so where?
Do so well.
Adusawe.
Very, very.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Here's what it means. This away.
Do so.
So if you don't already know, it means who is it?
Who is it? Do so.
So if somebody knocks on the door, you say, do so well. And please be sure to pay attention to the tone marks. I always say that the tone marks kind of makes it sound more cheerful. So it's like a happy kind of phrase. Do so well.
Do so well.
So I want you to practice that and learn how to memorize that, what the meaning is. Who is it? I had a UPIC student in my class at high school. He learned, he was really good, a good student talking. He sounded like an old time person. And he apparently practiced on his mom. He would follow her around the house talking to her in Tlingit. And when it was time for teachers and parents to meet, this lady comes walking in. She says, "Where's that lady that's teaching my kid how to talk Tlingit?" And I thought, oh. She said she was so proud of him because he's always practicing, and I could tell too in class. So somebody knocks on your door, you can say it. Also, why don't you put it on your phone? When somebody calls and you can put on there and say, do so well.
Do so well.
And leave a message. I can imagine that salespeople quickly looking through their language books to see what language it will be. Okay, that's what we're going to be using, and we'll be using it throughout the class at the start for some of the things we're planning to do. Are there any questions or comments on this? I think it's fairly easy phrase with no underline or markings.
Does the saw indicate their question?
Yeah, it indicates that it's a question. Yeah. So we don't use the question mark.
Sheesh.
I want to talk a little bit about punctuation. And because we have different methods of using it, we put what is it? A mark on letters such as consonants, such as K's and L and T's and S's and a comma. Apostrophe, that's the word. Anyway, we don't call it an apostrophe. We call it pinch. So put that in your notes. When you see an apostrophe next to a letter, you pinch it, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. Pinching a letter. It appears in the English language, so it shouldn't be that hard for you. Any comments or questions on that? Okay. So some letters are underlined, and that goes to the back of your throat. Those letters are formed in the back of your throat. And if you get a letter that is underlined and pinched, you better prepare yourself to have a fractured tongue because those are the harder letters to work with. The other punctuation that we use is a period. And when you see a period, usually appears between two vowels. And you come to a glottal stop. It's called a glottal stop. And what that sounds like is if you see it like W single A period and an E with a tone mark, wa eh, wa eh. It's really similar to what's the example I use? I forget. Similar to oh, something like that.
Mhm.
So you have you. It's called a glottal stop. So when you see the period, usually between two vowels. And the other letter that I found has been pretty difficult for English speakers or English thinkers is the W. And the W in Lingit languages serves the same purpose as it does in English. It's what happens with that is if you see a W at the end, you purse your lips around the last letter. You don't say it. People say, you had to a song. And so I always tell the student, look at my lips. You got to look at my lips. You had to a song. And you purse your lips around the last K. And I've heard all kinds of different pronunciation where the W is put before the K and comes out as you had to a sauk. That's wrong. It goes after the K. And the only purpose for that is to purse your lips, or they call it a kissing letter. Purse your lips on the last K, or last consonant. And we already ran across it with Quan, underline K and W. Quan. Quan. I want to hear you say English ka. Everybody.
Ka.
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 No.
Ka.
It's an English K. English K. Say just say ka.
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 Don't say
Ka.
say ka. Okay.
Ka.
Say the same word, but move it to the back of your throat. Ka. Yeah. Okay. With a W, K, underline K, W, A, N, on. Sure, back here. That sounds good. Quan. Angun Quan. Angun
Quan.
Angun Kwan. Angun Kwan.
Angun Kwan.
Angun Quan.
Angun Kwan. Angun Kwan.
Angun Kwan.
Angun Quan.
Okay, I heard a couple of Angun Quan. It's in the back of your throat, all the way to the back. So you can choke on it. I hope you're not eating a cookie right now. Quan.
Kwan.
Quan.
Angun.
Quan.
Angun Quan.
Kwan.
Angun Quan.
Quan.
Angun Kwan.
Angun Quan.
Kwan.
Yeah, that's better. That's better, gonna teach.
Angun Kwan.
Keep that in mind. Study your notes. Underline letters is in your throat. And you can practice by saying, okay, I say ke, ka, and then I move it to the back of my throat. It sounds different. Ka. So, ka. Ka. Okay, are there any comments or questions on that? Okay, pinch. What do we mean by pinch? Pinched letters are usually inside your mouth. It's not in your throat. So, I think a good example is yak. It's still a K. In fact, there's 8 Ks. So one of them is pinched. So if you see a pinch mark, then you click on it. Yeah, A. Okay.
Okay.
Yak. Hey. Yak. Hey.
Yak A.
Yak.
Okay. Hey.
Yak
Yak.
It's
I heard a couple of Ks, regular Ks. So we'll work on it, and I think
Okay.
time is up. I got the notice. Gonna cheese.
Finish cheese.
Cheese.
Finish
Cheese.
cheese. Finish cheese.
Ah, ah,
Kathleen, kunnen fish.
ah,
Cheese.
okay.